All right, continuing on through my stack of stuff, I've got an article by Gabriel Augustine of Eyes Everywhere entitled The Core of the Cabal, Satan's Throne and the War for Earth. It's a very powerful article. He puts words to who this is that we are contending with. At the center of the globalist agenda lies not simply a group of elite individuals, but also a spiritual infrastructure, a throne of iniquity where satanic governance manifests through principalities, powers, and human agents. While Alex Jones and others rightly expose the outer tentacles of the system, big pharma, big tech, international banking, surveillance, war profiteering, etc., the core is where these are all coordinated. It is the concentrated will of Satan on earth working through, and then he gives a list of the concentrated will of Satan on earth working through the occult priesthoods, the elite bloodlines, interdimensional councils, financial command centers, and global governance schematics, and we'll get into a few of these. I think it's important to learn how to talk about this stuff. I know that early on when I was being red-pilled, it was so overwhelming, the information that I was getting, that it was difficult to talk about it. And I didn't really have an understanding of how it all fit together. I could just see a lot of different components to the New World Order. Everything from, fluoride in the water, to the education system being full of all sorts of anti-Christ teachings. I could see the government pushing communism everywhere. So I was able to see a lot of the military-industrial complex, big tech and surveillance starting to, I was made aware that 9/11 and you have a building that fell down looking like it was collapsed by demolition, that nothing ever touched it, the third building that fell. But when you're looking at all these events and you don't fully understand how it all fits together, this New World Order, this cabal, and you're trying to talk about it, you can sound like a crazy person. And so I think it's important to learn how to talk about this stuff. And so I like to find research articles where it's clearly articulated, who is this cabal that's running the earth? How do they operate? What does it look like? I remember my wife and I had a season when we were watching Blacklist on Netflix. And there's probably no better TV show to watch if you want to learn about how the cabal operates than Blacklist. We watched that show and it was incredibly insightful. And knowing that one of the ways that the occult practices operate is that they will seed their revelations or seed their tactics and techniques into the fabric of society through TV shows, movies. They believe that if they show you what they're doing, even if they show it to you through movies or through TV shows, and that you do nothing about it, then you've rightfully submitted to them, that they have legal authority to carry out their agenda since you're doing nothing about it. And so if you watch the TV series Blacklist on Netflix and you get a picture of how the cabal operates, it's a little bit overwhelming. So I like to study this stuff out and learn how to break it down and talk about it. And, if you can just share a little bit with people about even little aspects of it, it helps plant the seed. And then the Lord, remember, is developing everyone's understanding and everybody's theology. So it's just like evangelism. I might plant one seed and then someone else comes along and plants another seed. And then, eventually somebody gets saved. I think it's the same thing with helping people understand what's happening in the world around us in terms of the New World Order and the one world government that Satan is trying to bring about on the earth. So anyways, let's take a look at this article. It says, occult priesthood, that's one of the ways by which Satan enacts his will through this cabal. Occult priesthood, e.g. Mystery religions, secret societies, Luciferian cults. Beneath the surface of global culture, let's talk about these occult priesthoods. Beneath the surface of global culture, politics, and media lies a hidden priesthood, a network of occult practitioners who operate in mystery religions, secret societies, and Luciferian cults. From ancient Babylon to the inner circles of today's elite institutions, these priesthoods have preserved arcane knowledge and ritual power, initiating select members into systems designed to channel demonic influence. I talked about this yesterday. If you go to the homepage of our channel, you'll see it right here. It's the theater of the elite, how the world becomes a ritual stage. Very powerful video. In fact, let me hit the play button on that for just a second. Ritual stage. All the world's a stage, says William Shakespeare. In recent weeks, a shocking convergence of global events. Donald Trump's bizarre papal meme, his open desire to be the next pope, a trade deal with Britain, the death of Pope Francis, and the rise of the first American pope, all on May 8th, has raised alarms among spiritual watchmen and geopolitical analysts alike. Is this a coincidence, or is there a deeper script being followed? Insiders and researchers suggest these events are not random at all, but they are part of an orchestrated pattern known to occult elite power structures as ritual theater, guided by ancient principles, numerology, and symbolic timing. Welcome to the theater of the elite. So there you go with that. You can take a look at that video. So occult priesthood. Beneath the surface of the global culture, politics, and media lies a hidden priesthood, a network of occult practitioners who operate in mystery religions, secret societies, and Luciferian cults. From ancient Babylon to the inner circles of today's elite institutions, these priesthoods have preserved arcane knowledge of ritual power, initiating select members into systems designed to channel demonic influence. Organizations like Freemasonry, the Ordo Templi Orientis, and new tech-savvy iterations have acted as ideological transmission belts for Luciferian doctrine, all under the guise of enlightenment or philanthropy. Their function is priestly in the dark sense, to meditate between human rulers and the powers of darkness, establishing spiritual gateways through which principalities influence world affairs. This is not metaphor, it is liturgy, sacrifice, and invocation practiced in secret chambers at the highest levels of power. Last night I had a powerful encounter. I was in prayer, and the Lord was talking to me about somebody whose radar I've gotten onto. And the Lord was telling me, hey, you're on this person's radar, but I wasn't understanding who the Lord was talking about. And so I was going through my Rolodex. When I'm talking with the Lord, a lot of times like a little kid who's trying to understand something that God's saying or something that a parent is saying to them. I have a 3-year-old, and my 3-year-old doesn't always understand exactly what we're saying. And so it takes her a little bit to get it. And she's in that stage where every word is, what does that word mean? And then you give her the definition, and then she says, and what does that word mean? Anyways, I can be like that with the Lord, where I'm like, okay, so you're saying that there's someone whose radar I'm on, and I'm imagining, is it, the tech surveyors? Is it, do I have a CIA, FBI after me? Who is it? And as I went through my Rolodex, finally the Lord showed me, no, it's somebody who's in secret. It's somebody who you would never know about, but who has more power than names that you know. He was telling me that in all of your time in prayer, I've spent my life is I'm a missionary at a monastery, and as I spend time in prayer in that secret place, he said there are demonic priests who spend that time in that secret place. Names you'll never hear of until one day when you're in heaven and you get to see the whole story. And so even the guys like the Bill Gateses and all the different people, the P. Diddy's and the Klaus Schwabs and the Rockefellers and the Rothschild and all these names that you know, at the end of the day, I really believe that the real occult priesthood is being done in places so secret, and they're conjuring demonic powers that are making them feel some kind of a way. And anyway, so the Lord was telling me, yeah, you're on the radar of one of these people who they are aware of what you're doing in the place of prayer. And so this occult priesthood is definitely real. So occult priesthoods, elite bloodlines, let's read a little bit here. Interwoven through the corridors of power are dynastic families whose lineage is not merely political or financial, but spiritual. The elite bloodlines, such as the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, and European royals, trace their power through generations not only by wealth, but by covenantal alignment with demonic principalities. These families serve as a long-term stewards of satanic governance, bound by blood oaths, generational rituals, and strategic intermarriage designed to preserve spiritual authority. Their influence extends beyond borders, elections, or economics. They are the earthly hosts of ancient thrones. From child grooming to occult rites, these families operate as high-level administrators of the Cabal's agenda, ensuring continuity of control across centuries. Their allegiance is not to nations or peoples, but to a fallen order, an anti-kingdom whose dominion depends on secrecy, manipulation, and ritual. Now, this is an article that I'm reading. I don't have proof of all of this, but this sort of gives you a picture. And so I would just want to say that this is allegedly, because if I was a Rockefeller or a Rothschild or a European royal, I wouldn't want people writing things about me if they weren't true. And so I don't know that this stuff is true. I'm doing the research the same way that you are. The reason why you're probably looking at videos is you're wanting to find out more. You know, we all feel a little bit like Neo in the Matrix, and Morpheus is describing to Neo, saying the Matrix is all around you. You can feel it, you can taste it, you can smell it. But in order to see it, he had to be unplugged from it. And so that's what all of us are doing, right? Is we're doing the research, we're trying to find out. We're watching the world go nuts in front of our eyes. And most of us never would have imagined that we would see the things that we've seen since 2020 and the lockdowns and everything on the news, from presidents, doing media appearances at a fake White House, and people who are clearly wearing makeup and masks. And it's like, is that guy even alive? Is the Pope the Pope? Is Joe Biden Joe Biden? I mean, I don't think any of us 15 years ago, or certainly not when we were kids growing up, imagined that this is what life would be like in the 2020s. And so we're just doing the research. And you got to eventually, ultimately obey the Holy Spirit. And so take this stuff with a grain of salt. If it's a seed that impacts you, praise the Lord. Can I verify that any of this stuff? Not necessarily, not the details of it. But I think when we paint a broad stroke, it helps lay a grid work for our brain, and then the Lord can fill in the details for us.